Hi guys, this is another video about building a rich text editor in C#, and today we're going to be looking at mouse selection. In a previous video I got it to the point where we could click and drag to select a range of text. However, there's a couple of other mouse interactions that we need to implement to call that complete. So before we look at the code, I'll just show you what I've implemented and then we'll check out how it works. So the first thing we need to be able to do is double click to select a word. We need to be able to click in the margin to select a line, or double click in the margin to select a paragraph. The other part of this is if you double click and then drag, you can see it continues to select in whole word mode. Okay, so we need to get that working, and it's the same for line, click and drag, so you can see it continues to select in whole line mode. And the same for paragraph, so I can double click and then drag down to select whole paragraphs. So that's the functionality we're after. Let's have a look at how it's implemented. First thing I've done is I've added on text document, so this is in Rich Text Kit, a get selection range method, and it just takes a position and the kind of selection that we're after. So it could be a whole word, whole line, paragraph, or just for completeness I've put in document as well. And you can also say none, in which case it will return the caret position just as an empty text range. And we use that for the regular text selection mode. Okay, I'm not going to go through this function in detail. It's very similar to the navigate function that we looked at in the video on keyboard navigation. And it's structured the same as well. It's just a switch statement at the top and then some helper functions, local helper functions below, which just look up a paragraph and then uses various attributes of the paragraph to calculate a text range. Okay, so that's the function that works out the selection blocks, if you like, word, line, paragraph. Let's have a look at what I've done in the editor now. So this is GUIKit's onPointer event function. This gets called whenever the mouse or a touch event happens. And you'll see the first thing we're doing here is we're working out what kind of selection mode we need to operate in. So if we're in the margin, if it's a double click, it's paragraph mode, otherwise it's line mode. If we're not in the margin, if it's a double click, it's word selection mode, otherwise it's just none, regular selection mode. Okay, the next thing I've done is I've split out the actual logic to do this selection mechanic into a helper class. And the reason for that is I suspect that when I get to do touchscreen support, the event handling is going to be quite different. So rather than try and pack all of that into this function, I've split it out into a separate helper class. And there's three methods on this class. They're just down, drag, and up. Okay, just before we look at that though, there's one other thing you'll notice here called auto scroll. So just to explain what that is, the scroll view can automatically scroll as you drag out of the view. So you can see here it's scrolling the view as I move the cursor outside the window. So the scroll view can do all that itself, but it just needs a little bit of help in that it needs to be told of pointer events inside the child view so that it knows when to scroll. And so you can see it's just calling this whenever there's a drag event and a cleanup function when the pointer is released. So that's all that's doing. Okay, let's have a look at the drag handler. You can see pointer drag handler, it's just an abstract class with those three methods on it. And this is our implementation for mouse selection. It takes the owner just so we can communicate back to the owning view, and a selection kind, which is the kind of selection mode we're in. This is pretty much the same as the old on pointer down event handler. The difference is that after hit testing, we extend the selection using our get selection range function that I just described. And we call that our original selection. If the shift key is down, we extend the original selection with the current selection. So that handles shift clicking to extend the selection. And then we set the view's selection range to this original selection. By original selection, I mean the selection as it was immediately after the mouse down event happened. Okay, as we drag, we do the hit testing as before. We get the selection range again for the new caret position, and then we combine the original selection with this new selection and set that as the text selection. So just to explain this union function a bit better, if I just run this again. So the union of two text ranges is the smallest text range that encompasses both of them. So for instance, if I was to start dragging from here in word selection mode, that would be one range, and then if I was to drag up to here, it would be this range. So the union would be the smallest text range that includes both of those. So that range, for example. Okay, so that's all I mean by union. It's just the smallest text range that encompasses both of those ranges. Okay, and that's pretty much it. That's the entire selection model working for mouse, and it's also pretty much the entire read-only part of this text editor working. So I think in the next video we'll probably start on actually making edits, and we'll take it from there. I hope you're enjoying these videos. Let me know if you got any feedback on Twitter at Top 10 Software, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, thanks guys, bye.